name is Evan Sunokuye, and of course I told you that we're going to be looking at the Assent that has recently been passed on the Legislature Autonomy Bill for states, State House of Assemblies, and also the Judiciary by the President. And of course, let me just read out something to you as brought up by Ita Enang. I just want to inform you that His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari today assented to the Constitution 4th Alteration Bill, which grants financial autonomy and independence to the House of Assembly of the respective states and to the Judiciary of the respective states too. Therefore, upon this signature, the amount standing to the credit of the Judiciary to now be paid directly to the Judiciary of those states, no more through the governors and no more from the governors, and then the amount standing to the credit of the Houses of Assembly of the respective states are now to be paid directly to the Houses of Assembly of that state for the benefit of the legislators and the management of the state Houses of Assembly. This grants full autonomy now to the Judiciary at the state level and the House of Assembly at the state level. Well, that's a statement coming in from Ita Enang. That's the legislator there for just making that comment. Well, we are going to be looking at all this today because I remember when this issue came up some time ago. Remember some bills that were brought upon, that were talked about by the National Assembly. After the National Assembly did their own, they passed it, and of course those bills went to the presidency. Among those bills, we still have the election sequence bill, and of course the Peace Corps bill that was vetoed by the president. And now we have the bill on the Judiciary and also the legislative autonomy for State House of Assembly. Well, to look at all this today, we are so privileged to have Mr. Solomon Mobotiti, who is definitely making his debut on this program today, this morning on ITV. And of course, you are going to be seeing him more on this program this morning on ITV. He's the publicity secretary of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Edo State Branch. Sir, you're welcome to the program this morning on ITV.
Thank you very much.
I was going to give you a new title there, Financial Secretary. No, you're welcome, sir. All right. And of course, we'll have Barrister Dele Benedio, always on this program this morning on ITV. Barrister, you're welcome to this program.
Thank you very much. Hello, viewers.
Okay. Perhaps let me just start from you. As a one-time honorable member of Edo State House of Assembly, I do know that when this bill came to Edo State House of Assembly, talking about the legislative autonomy bill now. Edo State House of Assembly was one of those State House of Assemblies that voted against it. And some said that why did they have to do that? Now, let's leave Edo State House of Assembly out of it. Now, for this State House of Assemblies that repelled this bill as at the time it came to them, what do you think actually motivated that?
Well, again, we are where we are. We are in a system where the executive has an overbearing influence on the legislature, and I think that was what was responsible for people in some houses of assemblies that voted against their own financial independence. I mean, for someone to vote against his own independence, you will know that there is an external influence which is overbearing, which is, but thanks be to God, the way our constitution is framed, all that is required to move a proposal, an amendment bill forward, is for 2/3 of the state houses of assemblies to agree. So once they agree, then that moves forward. So I think that we have passed that stage. Everybody is not going to say yes. Even some people now, if you call them and say, look, I'm going to set you up in business, there are people who will still say no. There are people who will still say no. I recall an incident where I got somebody and I thought, okay, you know what, you're going to go to university, I'm going to pay for you and I'm going to do everything. And the person ran away. And when I eventually found the relation asked me, did you ask him if he wants to go to university? I said, no, I didn't ask. I just thought it's a good idea. So, well, you should have asked him because not everybody wants to go to university. So, in the same vein, not everybody wants independence. some houses of assemblies were comfortable with their relationship with the governors, and they wanted it to be preserved that way. But as I said, we have passed that stage. Where we are now is better for everybody. It's better even for those who did not even think that they ought to get financial autonomy. For me, as a former member of the House of Assembly, I think it's something to be celebrated, because it actually gives you independence to be able to, contribute to motions, sponsor bills, just speak your mind, really, and the mind of your constituency, without thinking that, the executive, they are going to deny me my allowances, even if my vehicle is going to be repaired, they will repair everybody else's vehicle and not repair my own, and all that. And if people are going abroad for training or going to a conference, the executive can just say, pick 7 people except this fellow, and because he was not very friendly last time in his speech. So, but now all that is behind us. The state houses of assemblies and the judiciary will get their own allocations. And I'm talking about this, one must also extend it to the judiciary, because, before now, I recall a very, very harrowing incident, which was very painful for me. A judge was retiring. He wanted his benefits paid. I was in a meeting with that governor of that state, which I won't mention, and the judge came and knelt down, before the governor, the retiring judge, with all due respect, knelt down. I was saying, please, sir, I'll soon be going. I need all of these things to be done. So, if that sort of thing can happen, you can imagine what that judge would have been going through.
Yeah.
As a judge. So, but all this now is behind us. Everybody can get their money directly. Nobody is threatening nobody with any financial sanctions. Okay. And everybody can do their job.
Okay, let me pause you now. Solomon, there are 3 tiers of government, 3 arms of government: the executive, the legislature, and of course the judiciary. Now, just like what Barrister Derek Benedion said, that for some legislature, they would rather prefer to be on with the executive. Now, one kind of find it difficult to understand, because 3 arms of government, every arm of government is supposed to operate, independently. So let me put the question to you one more time. For people, for the houses, state house of assemblies that probably believe that, okay, the best thing to be is for their salaries, financial monuments and all to come from the state government, what do you think we're necessarily thinking?
Well, I must say everybody needs independence, and independence is what everybody would like to enjoy. I want to say that for those who might be thinking, oh, the money will be coming, they are better placed when the money is coming from state government, which is the executive. It's not going to pay them off. Because I think when the money comes directly to the state houses of assembly, they will better do or better manage the resources themselves. For me, I think it's a commendable and laudable achievement for the president to have said, get your independence. And I think getting independence for any parastatal or agency, as it were, of government is a very, very good thing, because you now will be able to manage your resources, your finances yourself. And I think this financial autonomy, which have been given to the states, houses of assembly and the judiciary, will better institutionalize democracy, and will give the state house of assembly, the judiciary, the chances, the better opportunity to manage the resources as it were. When you say, oh, the money, the finances comes from the state, before it gets to the executive, before it gets from the executive, before it gets to the legislators, many other things would have happened. But now that it's coming directly, you will see that the judiciary will be enjoying all their benefits as at when they want to manage it. Just the way you have in the National Assembly. The National Assembly, the finances for the National Assembly go straight to the National Assembly as it were. And you hardly have issues of crises, things are not done well, because as it comes.
Not in this National Assembly, except if you are saying financial crisis.
Financial crisis,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Financial crisis. You know, the budgetary allocations, as it comes, they see it, so there's no argument. They just manage what has been budgeted to their to them, as it were.
Okay. Now, Honorable Dele Igbenedion,
yes.
I put Honorable now because one time member of the Edo State House of Assembly. Now, for those state houses, House of Assemblies that did not, pass to the bill when it got to them. Now, one of their stronghold was that the bill was not well presented. What were the things that were not well presented? Because to them, as it were, then they said that it was unlawfully presented before them. You know, some people said that it was just trying to use some language, nomenclature to further keep the obscurity that seems to be on, some of the financial issues.
Well, I want to say that if you want to kill a dog, you first have to give it a bad name, isn't it? You have to, like, if you don't like the dog and you want to just get rid of it, you just say, oh, well, the dog sometimes eats feces or something. Just give it a bad name and just kill it off. So I think that's what they were trying to do. But at the heart of it was their fear of curing the displeasure of the governors.
So why would that? If we say that three arms of government, independent arms of government, why should one be afraid of the other? I mean, in our elementary government those days, we're told that no one is superior to the other. Yeah. So why should one be afraid of the other?
Well, in theory, that is correct. All arms of government are equal. Each person has their sphere of influence, and that's the Constitution. And of course, when you get down to it, each acts as a check and balance on the other. For example, in civilized countries, and I just want to give this background, in civilized countries, as a matter of practice, the President of the United States never, ever goes to the Supreme Court. He never visits, whether on official assignment, whether on a private basis. He is never to be seen in that vicinity. In the same way, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court or the Justices of the Supreme Court, once they are confirmed, are never to be seen with the executive, either in a meeting, either in whatever, unless maybe there's an official, maybe somebody is there, the former president, that sort of thing. But to say on a one-on-one discussion they are commissioning things, they are never there. That is to ensure that there is not only the book separation of powers, but the physical, separation of powers. In the same way, you don't find the speaker going to the judiciary. The speaker can mingle with the executive, with the president, once in a while if they have things, to do. So that is how these things are done. But here, you find out that, when judiciary opening here, we invite the governor to come and speak. Governors swearing in and governors this, we invite, judges are there, House of Assembly members are there, House of Assembly speaker's daughter is doing something, these people are there. So you find there's so much intermingling that the independence is sort of, is eroded in a way, in practice. Now coming to the financial issues. Before now, the House of Assembly has a bill. What I mean by bill is, a contractor has done some work, he wants to be paid. For it to be paid, the Speaker of the House will send it to the governor. Your Excellency, we have social number of people who have done some work for us. Please pay them. Or we have social number of staff that need to be, please approve for payment. So if the governor looks at it and there are 7 items and decides, well, I don't really want to pay 7, I want to pay 2.
Even with the budgetary allocation?
Even with budgetary, because budgetary allocation is just, as it were, an allocation in paper, subject to the availability
of funds.
The fact that it's there in the appropriation law does not exactly mean that the money just, goes. The money still has to come from Abuja to all the states. They look at what they have and they decide, okay, you know what, this is what goes to Judiciary for their running expenses. This is what goes to the House of Assembly. We will keep this one. And if the governor is not very friendly with you, or you are not very friendly with the governor, he will say, well, okay, well, all right, you have talked your own. Have you finished talking? By the time you bring the bills, okay, please keep it there. I'm coming. I'm going to America. I'll deal with it when I come back. So, in order to ensure that that sort of thing, I mean, during our time when I was in the House of Assembly, we had a situation where we had to go to Parliament in Atlanta, and then the papers were prepared. It was on the governor's table. He wouldn't sign it. So I had to go to him to say, look, So what I'm trying to say is, this legislature having to go to the executive puts you under a shadow, puts you under an influence that you want to say something in the House, but at the back of your mind, you are thinking, I've got that thing that this guy needs to do for me. But as it is now, you have the freedom to do what you want to do.
Okay. Now, Solomon, for some people, they have reasoned it that perhaps the greatest fear on the part of some executives now is the fear of impeachment. Because honorable members are no more financially responsible to state governors, so they cannot be called upon to answer one or two questions. Will this necessarily mean more of impeachment from the legislature to the state governors?
Well, I don't think so. I don't agree to that. I think it's something that just will institutionalize our constitutional process. Actually, the checks and balances we've always talked about in the 3 tiers of government will further be strengthened. And I think as a government, when these are done, it's better than lots of the people, which the legislators are representing. Because by and large, you see that a situation whereby, that is why you often see that the legislators, oftentimes, they don't perform their role the way it ought to be, because if by the day things are not done in the proper perspective in the channel of the executive, maybe 1 or 2 things will happen to their finances. But now that they now have the financial autonomy, I think it will enable them, strengthen them to do their work the way it ought to be done. And by that, the government, which we have always talked about, the government of the people, will further be enjoyed by the people.
All right, viewers, the program is still this morning on ITV, and our focus today is looking at the President's Assent on Judiciary and, of course, State Legislature Autonomy Bill. We saw that so many bills presented before Mr. President, and he's just taking them one after the other, just like that. Now, Barrister Dele Igbinedion, election is very, very close. You know, when we have issues like this, people, we just have a way of trying to look at it in the eye, or with the eye of election. Do you see any electoral or anything that has to do with election, behind all this?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't see how this aids or assists the chances of the president, because don't forget that this amendment, constitutional amendment, was not something that was generated by the president himself. This is something that has been in the works. It's gone through the 2 chambers of the National Assembly. It was passed. The 2 chambers of the National Assembly then sent it to the various
houses of assembly
around the federation, 2/3 of which passed it, and then it now went back to the National Assembly for harmonization between the 2 chambers. It was after it was harmonized in terms of all the views of all the 2/3 of the House of Assemblies, put together to coincide with their own. They now forwarded it to the president. So the president couldn't have, all these years been anticipating, okay, this is what I'm going to use for election.
But some have said that it's over almost 2-3 months, almost 4 months that it was sent to the president.
He has to study it. He also has to study it, and don't forget that when it comes and there are questions, that's part of our democracy. He has to consult. He has to listen to them. And if it's been there 3 months, I don't think election is coming up in the next 1 month. Election is 2019, I believe, if I'm correct.
2019.
2019,
yeah.
and this is 2018, and a lot of things can still happen between now and then. But again, on the other hand, I give it to him. Let's even assume there is any sort of election advantage from it. Are you going to begrudge him for using?
We're just discussing.
I'm saying, when I say you, I don't mean you personally.
Yeah.
I mean generally. When people make such comments, I mean, he's doing the right thing. It is something everybody has always, sought for. In Edo State, for example, as of today, the judiciary staff workers went on strike for about 7 to 9 months for this
purpose.
Autonomy. They were not paid for that period. They are still not paid as of today. And we hope that now that, in a way, they have been vindicated, that the executive will consider paying them, so that their struggle will not have been in vain, because it's for everybody. When governors are removed, you hear of most governors being charged by EFCC now. Where do they run to for Soko and Solid?
Let me quickly ask, this autonomy, especially for the judiciary, does it involve the amounts owed and all that? Does it now mean that, okay, from henceforth, the money has to come from the federal government, even despite when the state is owing, or it has to be from some time?
No, can you ask the question again?
Okay, what I'm saying is that you just said that that the judiciary in Edo State, that some have not been paid.
Yes.
Now, the bill now that has just been accepted to, does it include the fact that the money that was being owed?
Yeah, well, look, when money is now paid directly to the heads of the courts, it's for the heads of the courts to use their discretion in conjunction with the stakeholders, like the judiciary staff union, etc., when preparing their budgets, to be able to say, you know what, instead of spending the money on this, doing this, why don't we pay up some or scatter it over, over a period, over 1 or 2 years, start paying it piecemeal.
That's the liability now.
That's the liability now.
Yeah.
Pay it piecemeal, because these people are owed this money. They ought to be paid. They were on strike, but by the law, if you're on strike, you do get paid some money. That was the law as at then, and the law as it is, now. Provided it's a illegal sort of strike. They went to courts and they came back. So I'm saying that, yes, it's a liability that the judiciary will inherit if the executive doesn't take it on. They will find a way, I believe they should do that, to offset it, since this liability was incurred in defense of the interest of the judiciary itself, isn't it? So I think by and large, we are moving towards a good point. Our democracy is working. Everyone can see it's working. It's taking us a little bit of more time to get to where we ought to get to, because, as Nigerians, the whole country, we are slow learners of this process, It's not something that is natural with us. It's not natural to concede power or influence. It's natural to want to keep it. And civilized countries have been doing it for hundreds and hundreds of years. We just started it in 1960. We got our independence. We actually started civilian rule, not too long ago. So we are still getting to that point, but it's moving gradually. But my joy is that right now, any judge that is going to pass a decision will not be thinking, if this decision does not favor, a particular person in the executive council, they can do X, Y, Z to my finances. Now, there was a point you raised as to whether it will lead to some impeachment. I don't know if you permit me to say.
You're very permitted.
I would say that if it leads to some impeachment of some governors, so be it.
So be it?
Yes, so be it.
Okay, let me
be healthy for our democracy.
All right, let me pause you. Let me come to Solomon. Now, Solomon, in as much as some praise this idea, this gesture by PMB, that the legislators, members of the judiciary, will not be tied to the apron string of their state executives. What about the executive, even at the federal level? I mean, it is often said that it is he that plays the piper that dictates the tune. So don't you think what we are running from from the states may be something that we're going to start experiencing even at the federal level?
Well, I still think the independence that has been given to the legislatures, to the judiciary.
That's from their state governors. Now, we didn't necessarily have that independence from the federal government. That's because we are looking at saying that 3 tiers of government that are supposed to be independent, you know.
The way it is, what the bill that has been assented by Mr. President is for the autonomy for the executive. Sorry, the autonomy for the
legislature
and
the judiciary
in the states. And the legislatures in the states and the executives, they have always, operated in a way and manner that this check and balances has always been there. So for the federal level, the federal is central. So whatever is being done at the federal level also have a way of radiating what is being done at the state.
Or don't you think that's the possibility, because these are some of the fears that people are raising, that there seems to be the possibility for the federal government, for this possibility for state governors that are necessarily not in the same political party with the federal government, that these honorable members of the legislature may be used against state governors. Because these state governors are necessarily not paying their... I don't know if you understand
yes,
the question. Just let Solomon respond to that before you do.
What I think is the federal government, irrespective of the different party system and the different parties that is being run in the state,
that's right,
once laws are being passed, it cuts across the various states. It doesn't mean party A is being in Edo State and party B in Delta State. But wherever the laws, once the laws are being made, it cuts across. And whatever those in the parties, for instance, APC in Edo State is enjoying, is what their counterpart in Delta State, for instance, where you also have PDP government, is going to be enjoying.
Okay, you wanted to respond to it?
Yes, what I wanted to say is, first of all, at the federal level, we have, to a very large extent, the judiciary being extremely independent at the federal level. We do not have the shall I use the word strangulation, financial strangulation at the federal level, which we have had in the states. The federal government usually will credit monies due to the judiciary into the judiciary account at the federal level. The Supreme Court, the Courts of Appeal, National Industrial Court, the Federal High Court, and etc. So that has not been a problem. That's why you find out that at the federal level, judges are most, I don't want to use the word freer to give decisions
than the state level,
yeah. You know, because the NJC pays, and then you don't really go to the president for anything as a federal judge, unlike in the state. So that is why the states have been in the situation, the quagmire that they've been. Now, as to whether somebody will use some members of assemblies to impeach governors and all that, I want to say, and this is my point, and I beg your pardon to be able to express it.
There's your opinion.
If that is what we get to, then that should be it.
No, wait, then where is now the independence that we're talking about?
Now,
because we are running a situation that we are running from at the state level.
Yes.
We're almost going to meet it at the federal level. So where is the independence?
No. My point is this: the independence means that someone can take a decision based on his convictions. That is independence. It's not as if there will be no lobbying. They are always lobbying. It's allowed in politics. You can meet someone, your representative, and say, please, you know, our road needs to be done, or this local government chairman is not doing this. Can you call him to order? That is part of democracy. The independence is where the person can exercise his own free will, haven't listened to the inputs of others. But whichever way it comes, he can still decide what he wants to do and take responsibility for his actions.
With this kind of situation that we have, some of our legislators, they always want to come back. Once they get into office, they are thinking of coming back. And once given opportunity, they may want to use every opportunity available to them to make money. I mean, try to make money and come back so at the expense of the state governor?
Well, look, what is happening here is not as if the federal government is going to be giving a largesse to the states. It's their constitutional sort of prerogative. It's what they've been getting before. The only difference now is we're not getting it
from the state.
From the state.
Yeah.
It just comes naturally. Every month it comes. You know, we don't even have to think about it. When there's allocation of funds at the federal level, as state governors are getting, judicial heads of government are getting, heads of judiciary are getting, heads of assemblies are also getting. Everybody goes home with their own money. So it's not as if the federal government is doing any favor to the legislators in order to be in a position to say, you know what, we are giving you so amount of money, you're going to do. No, that with all due respect, that is not it. Yeah. It's their normal salary. It's just that instead of it coming from the state governor now,
it comes from the presidency.
It is now the speaker and the clerk of the house and the council of principal officers that now decides and makes the payment, and that's it.
Okay. Now, Solomon, what is the implication of this for our democracy?
Well, it's a bill that I believe will strengthen our democracy. It's a bill that I believe the institutional framework of our democracy will work better. It's a bill I think it will further enhance the judiciary, like what my brother here, Barrister Dele Gudinjan, just said. A time came whereby judiciary were all series of salaries. Now that judiciaries now know that this money as it comes, they are going to manage it. They manage it themselves. So whatever they think is of priority to them, the money is being channeled there. So I think the bill is for the checks and balances of the 3 tiers of government. So I want to say that for this bill, personally, I think the president should be, congratulated and commended for this bill, because it's something that people have long waited for. Because when you talk about independence, you cannot overrule the fact that it's what everybody wants to enjoy. And I think for this bill that have come, the masses will also benefit.
Okay. Now, let's just see a tweet from the Twitter handle of the president. It says that today, referring to the day that he signed the bill now, it reads, "Today I signed a constitution amendment bill that provides for the funding of state houses of assembly and state judiciary directly from the Consolidated Revenue Fund, CRF. The bill now, an act of the National Assembly, alters section 121 of the 1999 Constitution." And of course, it goes further to read, just hold on, let me just see the continuation of it now. Okay, it goes further to read that the purpose of this bill now, an act of the National Assembly, following my signing today, it is to promote the fiscal independence of the legislative and judiciary arms of the state governments. Amounts due to them shall now be paid directly to them instead of through the executive arms of the states. Dele Benenio.
Well, again, section 121 is a section that the judiciary workers have always asked that it should be amended or excised, and that's what has been done. We commend the president. It shows obviously that he's a listening president. We also commend the executives of the. We commend the executive. We also commend judiciary. We commend legislature. We commend everybody. We commend all Nigerians. We congratulate ourselves. That this situation that ought to have been, with us for several years. That shouldn't even be something we should be thinking about now. We are still thinking about it. But as I said, we are learning our democracy slowly. So we ought to commend everybody. It means well for our democracy. I think that is a good thing. But I believe that the people to be commended the most are the judiciary workers who have insisted on this in the various states, who went on strike, as we are saying today. Some of them are still owed 7 months' salary. So they are the real heroes. They are the real heroes of this. Not necessarily the legislature and the executive and all that, but because we found out that in some states, even when the judiciary workers were protesting on this, the members of the judiciary in some states didn't quite support them, or at least not openly. They also had to play the politics a little bit right. But the judiciary workers, they locked themselves out, they locked the gates, they insisted on this. Their salaries were not paid. After a while, they had to go back because some died. You recall, some died in the process.
Yeah.
Because for 7 months they were not paid. You can imagine what life would be like for them.
Okay. Yeah, gentlemen, let us digress a little bit now because we still have some time. Now, this is not the only bill that is before the president, and before this time we saw that the president had to veto some bills.
Yes.
Take, for example, the Peace Corps bill,
Yes.
the election sequence bill. Now, let's focus on the election sequence bill, because for some people, they see some more bills more important than others. Take, for example, some say that the election sequence bill, as it is now, given the fact that next year's election, that needs more attention than any other bill. So that is probably the politics. That is probably the eye of the politics that they begin to use to look at it. That the president is probably bringing politics into it. I don't know how you want to react to that.
Well, again, there is no particular
bill
that is more important than the other.
But you just okay. Is it right to say that we can have some before others? Can we say that due to exigency?
Well, again, we are all human beings are political animals. You can't take it from the president that if he has questions that are unanswered about certain bills, he may not want to assent to those ones. If he has asked for example, the cost of implementing a particular bill, and the budget office and the other people involved are still putting it together, they haven't quite gotten it together yet. It may affect the reasoning of the president in terms of signing that one. But this one,
but the election sequence bill would not have affected any cost, don't you think so?
The election sequence bill, I would think that the president will be. I mean, I don't speak for the president. I can't pretend to know how his mind works. But if I were in his shoes, to be quite honest with you, I would have given priority to this one that I've just signed.
Than the election sequence
bill. Yeah, than the election sequence bill, because the election is still, 2019 is still far away.
We're talking of months, about 4-5 months from now, 6 months from now.
Yes, it's just a bill on the sequence of elections. It's not. It doesn't really go to anything beyond that, does it? No. So you can sign it a day or two before the election. Which one comes first? I think that is the point. Beyond that, there's nothing else relating to that bill. It doesn't have any effect on the economy. It doesn't have any effect on the judiciary. It doesn't have any effect on the man on the street. But this one that the president has signed now has monumental effect on the man on the street. Because if your legislator is able to express himself freely, you get better representation. So to our people, what does it really matter if one election comes, if there's a sequence of election that goes this way or that goes that way? I mean, how does that affect the man in where I come from in Igbanke? Really. Just that on that day, they say, okay, go and vote. I don't have to go to farm today. They say, no, we have to vote. It goes to vote. Who are we voting for? We are voting for, today is president. Okay, today is House of Assembly. Okay, who are the people contesting? Beyond that, I'm saying with respect that it doesn't really affect. So I wouldn't put it as number one if I were the president. I won't put it priority.
All right, Solomon, let me also hear your view too.
Well, I think we just, as citizens, we just have to be careful. Because the president, as of today, is still our president, even the election coming up next year. So whatever
we're just discussing.
What I mean is that whatever the president is doing should not be seen as political and should not be seen as
Solomon, what we do here, we react to various issues, except if you are just saying that as an advice.
I'm just giving as an advice to what's happening or insinuations from the
various quarters.
Various quarters. Because I think whatever the president has done now, if it's a welcome development, he should be applauded for it. And I think actually this bill that has been assented to by the president, they are all laudable development, which affects the people, because what we are talking about now is about the people. If the representatives, our legislatures are able to do their work well, it goes down well to affect the people.
Okay. All right, let's quickly touch some other items still related to the matter at hand. And we have that there is another of the acts which has come into force today, is the Constitution amended number 21, which relates to the determination of pre-election matters. It also relates to the judiciary. Yes. Now, it has reduced the dates and time of determining pre-election matters to ensure that pre-election matters in courts do not get into the time of the elections, and they also do not pend thereafter. The relevant sections of the Constitution had also been amended by this act. Therefore, amending the Constitution, the other, okay. Now, just quickly react to this, Barrister Dele Igbenedion.
Well, again, I think I'm happy with that. It gladdens my heart, because we had a situation where long after election, pre-election matters
comes up,
will still be remaining in the courts. That was on one side. On the other side, we had a situation where the National Assembly had amended the Electoral Act to say that if you did not participate in all the stages of an election, to avoid the Amechi case. Amechi's name was not on the ballot. So they amended the law to say if you didn't pass through the screening, the nomination by the parties, the election itself and all that, the court should make you the winner. In other words, you must pass through all these things. So that sort of introduced a quagmire. If I was supposed to be the candidate and I was unlawfully excluded and his name was now put there and I went to court, then during the election it is his name that is there, knowing that by the law no court can stop election. So then he now was the candidate, he emerges as the winner. So what happens to me, if the court eventually find that I ought to have been the person who was validly nominated? So I think in order to correct that situation, they've now sort of adopted the election judicial timetable, which limits it to a specific number of days. In other words, you must start and finish
before the election
within this period. So now they must start and finish before the election. So which is wonderful. It will keep everybody on the toes, except that we lawyers will have to work.
All right, Solomon, how do you think political parties and candidates should be reacting to this kind of bill now?
Well, the bill, as it were, is something that actually gladdens my heart, I for one. And I think for political parties, it should not be.
I'm saying this, you might be interested tomorrow to maybe, vie for any of these positions.
Well, not really a politician. You contested, didn't you?
No, okay, but that's on the lighter side anyway.
I think, yes, it's about autonomy.
Okay.
It's about independence, and as I earlier said, it's about the institutional framework for the legislature, for the judiciary, to be able to do their work.
Yeah, the political parties now, as it relates to pre-election matters.
And now that the political parties, it's not for one political party. If you are coming for you can come through any political party, and once you are there, once you get to the State House, you work according to the laws that governs the assembly. The speaker might be from party A, the members from party B. It doesn't really matter. But now that the autonomy has been given, the finances that come will also it cuts across the individual political parties that is being represented in the House. So I think for the parties, for the different political parties, even as the election comes by, it's a thing that all of us should welcome.
Okay. Now, Dele Igbenedion, I'm asking this question because, the way these issues come up at times, you begin to ask questions. I mean, our political parties, Is it that they do these things purposely? Remember, one of the most recent of it that we just saw in Edo State is the issue that has to do with Adenomo.
Yes.
That ousted Honorable Sunday, of Vian, Northeast constituency now, if I can remember, in the Edo State House of Assembly,
yes,
if I can remember. Now, it was a pre-election matter. So for political parties, how do you want them to start to really react to this kind of issue now?
Well, you've just cited one out of a million examples. So what I mean, one minus amongst maybe 2,000 pluses that the party had. So it's quite infinitesimal. It hardly happens these days. It happens, but hardly. The way political parties will respond to it is to ensure that their systems are working better. Is to ensure that they cater for interests better. Elective positions attract a lot of stakeholders, and everyone wants to use what he has to get, to where he wants to get to, and there's intense competition. And political parties in trying to reduce tension, in trying to reduce litigation, they try to agree on a consensus. They try to say, look, all the leaders and all the people come together and decide, because if we go to vote on this thing, it may bring rancor and people will decamp. In
other words, there should be internal democracy.
Yes, that's the point, and that's where we are aiming for. But don't forget that we are still new at this sort of thing. And so it cannot be that out of how many members in the House of Assembly that the political party, it was only Adenomo's one that brought some issues. So I think it's 100% pass mark for that political party to ask me. but now, speaking directly on the point, I think the way to political parties ought to respond now is to bring out their timetable on time, give enough time for this process to be concluded. Because if it's not concluded, then it goes to the disadvantage of the party who is challenging it in court.
And that probably leads.
Once the clock stops, the case abates. And that's the end of it.
Now, you are a lawyer. If that situation, what will now happen? Doesn't automatically means that the next person in the opposition wins?
That's the end of it.
That's the implication.
No, it will mean that the person whose name the party has sent now becomes the candidate of the party.
Okay.
And not the person who is contending.
Okay. Now, as we wrap up, gentlemen, Solomon, you want to throw more light on some of the issues we've talked so far?
Yeah, I want to earnestly commend the President for what he has done for this bill, and I consider it as laudable achievements, and I think it is going to better the generality of the people. So I want to say that the checks and balances, which is one of the constitutional framework of democracy, is being strengthened. The judiciary today gets their money as it comes, just the way the National Assembly gets theirs, and they can better manage them. Also, it's applicable to the state legislatures. And at this, you'll see that the machinery of governance will better work, and it now works for the people.
Okay, now finally, Dele Benedio, I thought I was going to ask you this off stage, but let me ask you because I need to know, and also for the purpose of our viewers there. The issue of the declaration of the June 12 is still very much on. Reactions, counter reactions here and there. And the latest, I was in a sister station yesterday and I saw Femi Falana, trying to do some justice to some questions raised. Now, June 12 has been declared to now be observed the 12th day of June of every year. Now, May 29th is the handover day. So, does that not interfere with handover dates? Talking about elective positions for presidents, governors, what is going to be the implication? I don't know how, there seems to be a big question there in law.
Well, must we have public holidays for everything that we do? That's one question. I mean, must we have public holiday on handover day? You want to hand over, one president wants to hand over to the other. Must we have public holidays? Must we have public holidays for everything? I think we have too many public holidays in Nigeria, if you ask me. And I say that with all due respect to those who love public holiday. You know, but I think, I mean, some states have quickly, even though the president was clear, he said from next year, we'll begin to observe June 12th as
Democracy Day.
But some states have quickly declared public holiday for June 12th already. You know, I mean, and they had public holiday for May 29th.
It is not even the declaration of the public holiday. What I'm asking,
Yes.
now come June 12, 2019,
Yes.
is that the day that we are going to have a switch of governments?
No.
Or the May 29th?
May 29th will still remain our date for switch of government.
Then June 12, we remember...
Because June 12th is just like a democracy day. We're trying to commemorate the date when Nigeria had the freest and fairest election, but which was annulled. Again, the person who annulled it, if we are now all acknowledging that that day was freest and fairest election, but it was unlawfully annulled, that calls into question whether we ought to take the man who annulled it to book. We ought to ask Babangida to answer for his crimes, because now we are saying the election was free and fair, isn't it? So the man that annulled it must have done something wrong.
but let us not digress. So
okay, that's one point.
Yeah.
The second point is that I do not think that May 29, for any reason, should even be a public holiday. I don't even think that June 12 should be a public holiday. I don't think. What do we gain by just sitting at home and doing nothing on that day? At the time of economic crisis, every civilized country ensures that they reduce the number of their public holidays and increase the work hours so that productivity can increase, GDP can increase. But we are doing the reverse in Nigeria. We have now more public holidays, there's more poverty, and we ask people to stay at home the more. In other words, they are not producing more, they are consuming, because you and I know that when we stay at home, we eat more, don't we? The children are at home,
yeah,
and they don't go to school, so there's a tendency to consume more. The fridge is emptied more when everybody is at home. So I am against us having another public holiday. We can do this transfer of power at the federal level just for the president elected to go swear to his oath of office and go and start work. Why must we stay at home to do that? So we can watch television?
Well, gentlemen, a very big thank you. We'll just follow all these issues as our discussion programs continues on our programs on television and on radio. A very big thank you to Solomon, Titi. Yeah, thank you so much. And we hope to see more of you on this program. TMI, this one on ITV. And Barrister, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me on.
Okay, and you, the viewers out there, thank you so much.